We'll have plenty of time in this workshop for you to write your own cover letter and for you to make a great first impression to your prospective employer. So let's go and dive right in to the cover letter. So what makes a great cover letter? Well, first of all, what even is a cover letter? A cover letter is essentially a marketing tool, and it's really an opportunity for you to sell yourself to the prospective employer. And this is really one of the first steps in the job application process, and it's a really important one. So crafting a stellar craft cover letter, takes time. And applying to those jobs in and of itself can be like a full-time job if you're doing it right. And so therefore, we really want you to apply to positions that you really want. And we really want you to invest the time into applying to those so you can get it right, and that your success rate will be much higher that way, and that you're more likely to receive one or more job offers. So once you start applying to several jobs, you may have developed a sort of like staple cover letter that you can edit accordingly for each position. And if you do this, it's really important to make sure that you don't leave any information specific to another job posting. If you apply to several account coordinator positions, for example, make sure that you're referring to the correct position in your cover letter, because trust me, if an employer reads your cover letter and finds a discrepancy, like maybe accidentally addressing a letter to a different hiring manager for a different position, it's going to signal that you aren't thorough and you may not be that serious about the position. So that's a warning. I'm done scaring you. So this is sort of what I have just covered, but what's a cover letter? It's essentially a marketing tool. It's an opportunity for you to sell yourself. And we're going to get more into sort of the nitty-gritty about what makes up a cover letter, how do you write one, and what is the format of a cover letter. So we're really going to aim for 3 to 4 short paragraphs, and we really want to limit it to 1 page. So you may be wondering, like, cool, like I get the idea of a cover letter, but like, what am I applying to? Well, there's a couple of different things that you can apply to. So there's internships, there's jobs, and there's youth programs. And you may be wondering, like, what's the difference? Well, an internship is a type of short-term entry-level job in which you'll sort of be learning by doing. So you'll be gaining experience and skills, but you'll still be providing a service to the employer. And internships can be unpaid or paid, but we definitely recommend taking paid internships. And they can be similar to a job, but you'll sort of receive more training. And really, you can think about it as an opportunity to acquire skills and connections. And companies often hire from their best interns. So an internship can sort of be thought of as like a prolonged interview. Then you have a summer job. So although you'll be learning something just by working and gaining experience, it's not really the obligation of the employer to make sure that you're learning anything in particular. So you're more so providing a service for the employer, and the employer is sort of paying you for your service. And then finally, you have a youth program, which is the sort of most of these 3 that are focused on you and your development in a specific area, for example, like leadership. So it's not the same as an internship because you're usually not providing a service. It's usually not work, but you may receive a stipend upon completion. And you may be like, okay, well, where do I find internships? I'm going to tell you where you can find internships specifically on our website. So if you go to girlsrightnow.org/internship, there you can find a ton of internship listings that we have provided for you. And you may want to browse those. I guess not really while I'm talking, but we'll have time for you to look at them because you're going to be writing a cover letter in this workshop. And so if you go onto our website and you look at them, find something that you're interested in, and then you're going to have a chance to practice writing your cover letter. So there are 3 like main components of an application. The first of which is the resume, which if you were here 2 weeks ago, I think it was, in part 1 of Landing the Role series, that's what we covered, is how to create an awesome resume. And if you weren't able to attend, no worries. You can find all of the slides on our community homepage, girlsrightnow.org/community, password GWN, all capital, community. Actually, community, it's in the chat. And then, so another component of an application is the cover letter, which will be covered today. Yay. And then the third typical component of an application is the interview and the thank you letter, which will be covered in part 3 of the Landing the Role series, which will be on Wednesday, January 12th from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. So mark your calendar for that. Or sometimes you may have to submit short essays in lieu of, or even in addition to a cover letter. And some common questions may include like, why are you applying? What do you find interesting about this internship? What do you hope to achieve? Or also like, what was your most meaningful education experience or previous work experience? And so these are some questions to sort of think about when you're in the application process. You may be wondering like, okay, this is nice, but like, what are employers looking for like in an application from their employees? Well, first of all, the first thing they're looking at is kind of obvious, but they're looking for whether or not you can do the job. So do you have the experience and the skills to be successful in the role? If not, do you have certain strengths that will help lead to your success? The next thing they're looking for in an applicant is if you're passionate about the employer's field of work. So you want to think about how you can demonstrate your passion for their field. So maybe you have a track record of working in the field through like clubs and programs you're a part of, or simply just writing about how passionate you are about the work that you're doing. Either way, you want to make sure that your application makes your passion clear, but you don't want that passion to sort of dominate the entire application. And we'll go into that more later. And the third thing they're looking for is, will you fit in with their team? So it's very likely that you're going to be working with other people. And the first thing they're going to be looking for, or not the first, but one of the things they're going to be looking for is, does your personality fit with the organization or the company's culture? And this will sort of largely come in through your interview. But the cover letter can also help by discussing how your values align with the place of employment. And you really want to use industry-specific language in your application to convey this. But before you do any of that, we first need to research. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all resume or cover letter. And for the cover letter in particular, you're going to want to change the explanation of your experiences and your interests to match the role that you're applying for. So the first thing you need to do is you need to research the organization or the company. So you're going to want to visit their website, and I'm talking like visit that website, maybe have it bookmark, like really, really get to know their website. And here's some things you're going to want to look for there. So first, you're going to want to look for their mission, their vision, their values. What do they care about? What's important to them? And then you also want to look for exactly how they work towards their mission. Do they have any goals? What are the steps that they take in achieving the things they set out to? And then finally, you want to look at the target population. Who do they work for? Who do they work with? These are sort of things that will help you understand what you're applying for and who you're going to be working for, hopefully. You can also do research on their social media. And so this can definitely be helpful in the cover letter writing process. I will say in my application process, it definitely was, and you can sort of use this more so for the interview. Nonetheless, you're going to want to just look up as much information about them, about the prospective company that you're applying for as possible. So you're going to want to view their social media accounts, if they have an Instagram, a Twitter, a Facebook, a LinkedIn, and more specifically, you're going to want to look for, what they're posting about. Does anything specifically resonate with you? What type of events are they promoting? What does the company value or promote that aligns with your passions and your own values? So like, for example, if you're really passionate about fighting climate change, does the company or organization's value system seem to align with that passion? So now we're going to talk about like, what does a cover letter like actually do? So in the cover letter, when you're writing it, here's some things that you should think about. Like, here's some goals that you should want to accomplish. So first, a cover letter is going to introduce, who you are to the employer. It's also going to communicate why you're interested in the position and the organization and the company. It's going to highlight your experiences and your strengths and how they will benefit, how the organization will benefit from having you there. And specifically, you're going to want to tie that to the role that you're applying for. You're going to want to keep your cover letter to 3 or 4 short paragraphs. As I mentioned earlier, don't exceed 1 page. A cover letter is also an opportunity for you to demonstrate your written communication skills. So just make sure that your writing is professional, clear, concise, because after all, application reviewers are people and they often don't have time to sit there and read multiple page cover letters. So you're going to really want to make sure that you edit and edit and edit over again, because we just don't want to give them any excuses to sort of pass over your application. So grammatical, punctuation, or spelling errors will unfortunately do that. So if you're done with the cover letter, review it again, pass it off to your mentor, to a friend, to a parent, to a guardian, to a sibling, so that we can ensure that it's the best cover letter that we're presenting. So here's more about what to cover in there. Cover in the cover letter. So you're going to first obviously want to cover the position that you're applying for. And then you really want to talk about what the employer will get out of hiring you. So you really want to be specific. So talk about your strengths or your skills and or your skills. And you're also going to want to tailor it to the specific needs of the position that you're applying for at the specific company. You're also going to want to talk about your experience, your qualifications, how they relate to the position, and how this sort of job or internship will contribute to your current and future goals and or your career plans. And so it's best to indicate that you really want to grow within your company and not that you're just sort of like using the role as a stepping stone to go somewhere else, which is fine if that's the case, but that's probably not going to get you hired. If you do have past experience, you're going to want to talk about the results of your projects, your initiatives, your roles, so what did your work result in? And employers love to see numbers, so add numbers and tangible results if possible. And then at the end, you want to be like, thanks, and I really look forward to speaking with you, so that you really want to state that you're looking forward to setting up a time for an interview, just so that, it shows that you're interested, you want to keep talking, and that they should interview you. So here are some things not to say in your cover letter. Like I mentioned, you don't really want to say that you're just like sort of collecting experiences and you're trying to figure out what you want to do and that you're using this job as a stepping stone, which is fine, but that's probably not going to get you the job. You also want to sort of avoid focusing on how the job will specifically benefit you, unless you're sort of weaving that in and balancing it with what you're bringing, and that this career or this job or this internship is a part of your sort of career trajectory. But you really want to make the employer be like, dang, I really need to hire this person. They seem to have it all going on. I really need them. And that's what you really want to try to convey in your cover letter. And then lastly, please try to avoid getting caught up in like the mission and like the statement and the overall vision of the organization and like talking about how passionate you are about it. And like, that's great. But also like, they know that they have a good mission statement. They know that like the things that they believe in are awesome. And you don't really need to spend a lot of time talking about that. You really want to talk about the specific skills that you bring in, and more specifically, the specific skills that you want to learn. And if you're like, what skills do I have? Here are some pointers for you. So you're going to want to think about what you have accomplished in school and or outside of school. So maybe you're the yearbook editor, or you're on the debate team, or the track team, or the prom committee, and the theater club. All of these things that may not be directly related to your role are all really important things that you're able to have gained a lot of skills from. And if you're a part of a program like Girls Right Now, which you are, you should talk about it. So you want to talk about, the fact that you made a commitment to a rigorous writing program that has weekly and monthly requirements and deadlines, that you interface with an adult on a weekly or monthly basis. You're going to want to tell them who you were mentored by, what was required out of you. And if you're in the Writing Works program, you're going to want to talk about the fact that you attended workshops to prepare yourself for a college and career. Other things to consider, like, were you on time to workshops? Did you complete your assignments? All of these things are really great selling points, especially in a resume and a cover letter in particular. Maybe you're really good at social media, like maybe you're like a tech whiz, or you can do research very easily. And say you don't know the answer to something. Are you able to quickly sort of research to fill that gap? That's a really important skill that you've developed. Are you organized? Are you maybe great with deadlines? Are you detail oriented? Are you quick to learn systems? Do you have perfect attendance? Are you always on time? Do you always ask what you could do if somebody needs help? So these are sort of things that you can think about when you're writing your cover letter, and things that may not be as obvious, but trust me, you have more skills and strengths and accomplishments than you just got to think about it a little bit. So here's some things to think about. The first is, why is it significant for your academic and long-term goals to get this internship? And sort of what qualities make you stand out among other candidates. And if you don't know, that's okay. You may want to ask your friends or your family or your mentor or a guardian. And lastly, you want to think about, what do you bring to this position? Like, why do they need to hire you? And sort of we tease that out a little bit in the opening lines. So now I'm actually going to read an excerpt from Hannah Rhodey Wright, a literary agent. And it says, so as an overall note, something my dad always taught me about job applications and specifically cover letters is that it's your chance to show the office you're applying to that you are the answer to their problems. You want the employer reading your application to feel as though you are there to meet their needs. And your cover letter should highlight what it is about you that would make you the ideal employee for this position. So the best thing to do is to figure out what they're looking for and then take a look at your skills and interests and see if there are any themes you can pull out. So for example, instead of telling them how interested you are in theater, think about the skill sets theater gives you and see if there are any skills you have now due to your experience in theater that would help you be the exact employee they're looking for, like effective communication or self-discipline, which that was like a really succinct way of saying what I just said in the last 6 slides. So here's a few more things to consider. So you're also going to be sending them your resume, and your resume and cover letter are separate and distinct documents, but they should work together to give a complete picture of who you are as an individual and as a prospective employee. So a cover letter should include information that is not on your resume, and duplicating that information from your resume to your cover letter is honestly a seriously missed opportunity to sell yourself to that employer. So of course you should talk about past positions you've had, but you really want to talk about it in your cover letter in a way that sort of paints the story the application reviewer would not know if they just looked at your resume. And if you weren't able to attend our resume writing workshop, again, you can find all of our slides and the lesson plan on the community homepage. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about formatting the cover letter. So first off, you just want to avoid the use of like font styling, such as like bolding, italics, like underline. And you're also going to want to use an easy to read font, and one that's like 11 or 12 point size. And ideally the same one that you use for your resume. So just that all of your application materials are cohesive, it looks nice and clean. And then similarly, like when you're writing your resume, you want to think about, did I use the present tense for everything that I'm currently doing? And did I use the past tense for previous experiences? That's a super common mistake that unfortunately can make it really easy for employers to be like, next, not detail oriented. So we really just want to think about these formatting tips to ensure that our cover letter looks fabulous. So before drafting your cover letter, before drafting your cover letter, you're going to want to draft ideas on how you can convey whether you can do the job, and how passionate you are about the prospective employer field of work, and if you'll fit in with the team and culture. And you'll really want to not spend a ton of time talking about your passion, but it should definitely come through in your cover letter. Like the employer should definitely like feel your passion and like your energy and your excitement, but like unfortunately like passion is really not going to get you the job. What's going to get you the job is you being like, I'm really excited about this and I've been excited about it, and here's the things that I did in the past, and here's what I'm going to do in the future. So just keep that in mind when you start to draft your cover letter. So for the more like specifics of formatting, so personal information. So before your introduction paragraph, you're going to want to make sure that you include both your personal information and the employer's personal information. So your information should come first. So it should be, as you can see on the slide, sort of like your name, your address, your phone number, and your email address. And make sure that you use sort of like a professionally email address. It can be your school address, your school email address, as long as you still have access to your school email address, by the time that you will hear back from your prospective employer. And then the date should go in between your info and the employer's info. And then underneath should be the employer's personal information, which should include the hiring manager's name, their title, the company name, and the company address. And yeah, now we're going to show you a sample cover letter, and we're going to talk about, we're going to sort of break it down. So first, you really want to open the letter by addressing the person who will receive your application if possible. And you may be like, I don't know who's going to be reading this. You can find out. Don't worry. So if it's not on the website, well, first, check the website. And if you're unsure and you can't find who you're supposed to be addressing to, you can always email, you can always call the place of employment to ask. And if you have their name, you're going to want to begin with dear and their name. Otherwise, you can use dear hiring manager if you really can't find it. And beyond that, you can use to whom it may concern, though it's really just like best practice to address a specific person when possible. So in the introduction, you're going to begin by stating the position that you're applying for, where you found the posting, if somebody referred you, who was that person. You're briefly going to state an area of their work that you're passionate about. And it's important to sort of demonstrate this passion in the opening paragraph and your knowledge of their work. And it shows that just like you've done your research, you know what's up, you know what you're talking about. And it just indicates your level of interest in the position. And then you're going to conclude that first paragraph with why you're the ideal candidate in one sentence. So we have an example for you on the screen. I'm also going to read it. So, dear Lily Chen, I'm applying for the Fuse Communications intern. I am studying public communications at the University of Vermont and am interested in the field of marketing and more specifically brand management. I'm particularly drawn to this opportunity at Fuse because of your vibrant company culture and commitment to the community. And this is a pretty good opening statement, opening paragraph, but even still, I would add, where did you hear about the position? And you sort of want to like wrap it up in that nice sentence of like, why you're the ideal candidate, but don't worry, we're going to see even better examples as we keep going. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the second paragraph of the cover letter. So this is really about your experience and your passion for the work, but mostly like your experience in this section. So you're going to want to begin the sentence with tying your experiences or your strengths or your skills to their hiring needs. So you're going to want to use a specific example. And again, you really want to tie it directly to their needs. And like, you can definitely use a buzzword that was in the position description. You should really just like know that position description like the back of your hand. And mentees, you can totally talk about being a part of like Girls Right Now, clubs, or any other organizations that you're a part of. You can talk about what you've learned and how you apply that to the position, or you can talk about classes you've taken in school and how you can apply that to what you've learned to the role that you're applying for. And like, no worries if you don't have any specific experience. If that's the case, you can always just elaborate on your passion for the organization and the role in general. But it's really great if you can provide concrete examples of your passion and interest in the field. So maybe you don't have a ton of experience, but you're like, I took a class about this one time and it was really awesome. And here's what I learned and here's what I liked about it. So here is an example of the second paragraph, which I'm going to read now. So I have strong skills in social media management, communication, and organization. My experience as the recruitment chair for I think it is. I'm terrible with like the Greek alphabet sorority, enhanced my ability to communicate through various outlets. As the recruitment chair, I oversaw the social media marketing for recruitment week. To get students' attention, I focused on my target audience and worked to create innovative and relevant content. Furthermore, I oversaw the logistics and internal communications for recruitment. It was vital to be organized and a clear communicator in order to keep over 200 women aligned in our tasks and goals. So as we see, this person is talking about their involvement with the sorority, which may not be like directly tied, but you can see she's like, here's my experience, here's what I'm passionate about, here's what I'm good at, and here is how it's going to sort of translate into the role that I'm applying for. So now we're going to talk about the third paragraph. And again, this is sort of like any additional experience you have. And again, talking about the passion for the prospective employer, if applicable, because you really only need to include this paragraph if necessary and if you have room, because once again, we only want to do one page for the cover letter. So if you have any additional experience examples, this third paragraph is really the space to elaborate on them. And so again, we're going to tie it to the company's or the organization's need. We're going to use those buzzwords. We're going to use that position description to our advantage. If you don't have any additional experience, like I said, no worries. You don't actually have to include this paragraph. Or if you don't have a ton of experience, you can just elaborate on your passion for the organization and the role in general. And like I said, it's great to provide concrete examples of your passion and your interest. And if you don't, that's okay. Just be like, I'm really excited to learn more. And yeah, like I said, a resume and a cover letter shouldn't be longer than one page. So this paragraph is really only here if you have room. So now I'm going to read this third paragraph. So it says, as a public communication major, I've had the opportunity to do in-depth market research. One of my projects consisted of working with a local nonprofit and looking for best practices in targeting messaging to the teen market. I researched multiple companies who are leaders in this sector and worked closely with a small team of students to evaluate best practices. At the conclusion of the semester, we presented our final recommendations and targeted market plan to the community partner. In sum, I have strong organizational and communication skills, a solid foundation in marketing and social media, and work well both collaboratively and individually. So we're really getting a taste of like their experience, the skills they've gained, how it relates to the job description, what they're passionate about. And now we're going to talk about the conclusion. So like how to wrap it all up. So in the conclusion, you're going to want to restate your passion, your experience, and any qualifications that the employer has listed on the posting and that you have. You also really want to thank them for their time and their consideration. And you sort of want to like end with an ask, like, I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to meet with you and talk more about how my skills can benefit your company or something like that, or looking forward to speaking with you, something like that. And you're going to want to use like kind regards or sincerely. My personal favorite is kindly, and then your name. And then if you can import your signature, that will have like, your email address, your pronouns, your phone number. That's also great as well. So here we have a beautiful final paragraph. I'm very interested in the possibility of interning at Fuse and contributing to your team. Attached, please find my resume. If you have any questions, please contact me at my email address. Thank you for considering my application, sincerely. And even I would say, I'm looking forward to speaking with you soon, something like that. So before you begin drafting your cover letter, I'm going to ask that you make 2 lists. So the first list is going to be about your strengths, your skills, and accomplishments. So, like I mentioned earlier, what have you accomplished in and outside of school? Are you maybe good at social media or research? Are you organized? Are you good at deadlines? And then the second list you're going to make is, why do you want to have this internship or job? So you're going to want to make a list of those reasons. And you really want to think about what makes this internship or job appealing to you. So will it give you a certain exposure to a certain industry landscape? Will it maybe allow you to work on a cause that you've always been passionate about? And yeah, here are just like sort of a checklist to consider while you're writing. So like I said, you're going to make 2 lists. The first is about your strengths, skills, and accomplishments. And the second is going to be, why do you want this job? Make a list of reasons. And here are just some tips when you're writing. We're going to have about 7 minutes so you can write these lists. And during that time, you're going to think about what you've accomplished in and out of school, what you've accomplished at Girls Right Now. Are you social media savvy? Are you good at research? Can you look things up really quickly if you don't know how to do something? Are you organized, great with deadlines, detail-oriented? Do you have perfect attendance? Are you always on time? You can always, or maybe you can always ask what else you can do, or if someone needs help. So these are some things to consider while writing. But yeah, we're gonna write for about 7 minutes. Come up with those 2 lists so we can write some awesome cover letters. All right, everyone. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting your writing process, but don't worry. We're now going to have time to fully flesh out all of those ideas and create your own and start your own cover letter. So now that you've drafted a list of your skills, your strengths, and your accomplishments, and a list of reasons that you're interested in the position, it's time to develop those into a cover letter. And really, in the cover letter, if you don't have a ton of experience, or even if you do have a ton of experience, what you really want to focus on are those transferable skills. So the things that you've learned in the past, that you've gained from having certain experiences, and how you're going to bring those skills into this position specifically that you're applying for. So now we're going to take about 10 minutes. And you're going to use this time to work on or start your cover letter. So yeah, enjoy, everybody.